Welcome to Heaven's Gate, the channel where we share stories and testimonies of individuals who have encountered extraordinary events, including out-of-body experiences. Before we dive into today's tale, I invite you to engage with our community by sharing in the comments where you're tuning in from. Your messages bring us all closer, and it's a joy to read them. If you find this content meaningful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll catch every new story we have to offer. Let's begin with today's narrative. My name is Jonah, and I'm 57 years young. Until recently, I believed I had a firm grasp on life. My days were tranquil and structured, living with my wife Beth in a cozy country home nestled by woods, a place I've cherished since boyhood. It was a haven from urban chaos, and I thought it was all I needed for happiness. Technology, social media, and cell phones were alien concepts to me, seemingly pointless. I was raised with hands stained by soil, embracing simplicity. Then, one day, my eldest son, Adam, visited with the notion that I needed to modernize. During our porch-side chats with a casual beer in hand, he suggested, "Dad, why not join social media? It's a way to keep in touch with everyone. They're all connected there." It seemed harmless enough, and perhaps he was right. With our children grown, the house felt quieter, and the idea of reconnecting with old friends and relatives intrigued me. With Adam's guidance, I ventured into this digital realm. I set up a Facebook profile, uploaded a recent picture he'd taken, and began exploring. Initially, it was a delightful pastime. I chuckled at how some schoolmates had aged, marveled at my kids' ease in this virtual world, and felt a part of something larger, even from a distance. The connection was comforting, bridging physical gaps with digital threads. However, as time passed, my perspective shifted. I began to notice the seemingly flawless lives of others, constant joy, bustling activities, trips, parties, colleagues flaunting new purchases, friends boasting of renovations, and old acquaintances celebrating milestones. I sat with my phone, observing these digital displays, and an unfamiliar seed began to sprout within me. Envy. Unaware of its growth, I spent increasing amounts of time scrolling, comparing, and silently criticizing. Their happiness seemed a taunt, their achievements a reproach. I questioned my own life's worth, not just in terms of wealth, but in the richness of experiences. The checking of social media morphed into an obsession. Every morning, I'd reach for my phone before rising, eager to catch up on overnight developments. Every pause in my day was an opportunity to peer into others' lives, each glance accompanied by a silent judgment. I convinced myself there was no harm in my thoughts, that they were mine alone, unspoken, and therefore innocent. But this was an illusion. One Saturday, overwhelmed by these consuming thoughts, I decided to disconnect. I sought solace in nature, a return to simplicity. Beth was out, and I took my rifle, heading into the familiar woods behind our home. Hunting had always been my meditation, the forest's quietude and the wind's whisper a balm to my soul. Yet, that day was different. The night before, I had been engrossed in the posts of an old friend, pictures of a new boat, a smiling family, and bitterness festered within me. What need has he for a boat? Just showing off? I thought, anger simmering without cause. On a steep woodland path, preoccupied with these ruminations, I failed to notice a slippery stone concealed by leaves. My foot caught, I stumbled, and in an instant I was tumbling down a ravine. A sharp pain erupted as my head struck a rock, and then darkness enveloped me. I can't say how long I was unconscious. Time seemed irrelevant when I awoke to find myself in an unrecognizable place, certainly not the forest where I had fallen. I was in a desolate wasteland, the ground scorched and cracked, as if fire had consumed all life. The air was heavy, each breath a struggle, and the sky an ominous red, punctuated by occasional lightning that sliced through the fog. No wind whispered here, only an unsettling silence broken by distant, chilling screams. I realized I was in hell, not as a concept, but as a tangible, horrifying reality. No trees, no animals, just an earth from which tongues of fire and smoke writhed. Human figures emerged from the shadows, not monsters but tormented souls, their bodies twisted by agony, their faces a canvas of eternal suffering. Their silent screams were deafening, their despair palpable. Among them, I recognized faces churchgoers, old friends, colleagues. Their mouths moved, but no sound came forth. They reached toward a sky indifferent to their plight, a sky that offered no solace. It was then that a figure unlike the rest materialized from the darkness, a demon with a human face, an embodiment of pain and lost redemption. Its gaze pierced me, and when it spoke, the voice was resonant, as if rooted deep within the earth's core. "I was once like you," it said, "a man of devotion, a preacher guiding others to faith. But my heart was corrupt. I judged, felt superior, and envied others' happiness, all hidden behind a facade of piety. That poison brought me here. My blood turned icy. The demon's words struck at my core. I saw the reflection of my own actions in its tormented existence. I had thought my unspoken judgments and envy were inconsequential, but here was the truth of their weight. I've done nothing wrong," I stammered in defense. "I never spoke a word, never harmed anyone." The demon shook its head, almost pityingly. "It's not only what you say aloud, it's what you harbor within. Judgment, envy, these are sins of the heart. You watched, criticized, compared without seeking to understand. That is your condemnation." The realization hit me like a crushing wave. I felt my knees, remorse flooding my heart. I saw the true gravity of my sins, the silent poison I had allowed to fester. With trembling hands clasped in prayer, I looked toward the dark heavens and begged for forgiveness. "Lord, I lived without understanding, judged others without seeing their true struggles, envied their happiness without knowing their reality. Please save me." Suddenly, I was jolted awake in a hospital bed. The stark lights and the beeping of monitors brought me back to the world of the living. Beth's voice, laced with emotion, grounded me. "Jonah, you're awake," she said, her hands holding mine with a warmth that felt like salvation after the nightmare I had endured. A week had passed, yet it felt like an eternity in that hellish vision. Was it real or a coma-induced dream? The pain and the realization of my own misdeeds remained, a living wound in my soul. Beth's presence was a lifeline, but I knew I was irrevocably changed. The days ahead were a slow journey of healing. Doctors spoke of luck regarding my recovery from the concussion and fractures, but I understood that the real recovery would be spiritual. In the hospital nights, the memories of my infernal journey haunted me. The faces of the damned, the familiar twisted in torment, and the demon's words echoed a reminder that it wasn't too late, that sincere repentance could still save me. I grasped the depth of my wrongdoing. It wasn't the actions or words that had hurt others. It was the sin of silent judgment, the envy that had festered, the belief that I deserved more. Returning home, life appeared unchanged on the surface, but within me, a new awareness had taken root. Picking up my phone became a source of internal tension. It had become habitual to open social media, but now I saw it through a different lens, a reminder of my fall from grace. One day, Beth found me on the porch, phone in hand, lost in thought. "Jonah, are you all right?" she asked, concern evident. I shook my head, unsure of my own state. "I made so many mistakes, Beth. I've wasted time envying and judging others without realizing the damage to my own soul." Beth sat beside me, offering support. "You don't have to change alone. We all err, but you can turn this around. Stop looking outwards and start looking inwards. There's always a chance to begin anew." That evening, I made a decisive move. I picked up my phone, logged into Facebook, and deactivated my account. I did the same with Instagram and every other social platform I frequented. It was a small act, but it symbolized a larger commitment to free myself from the trap of comparison, to stop measuring my life against a distorted yardstick. In the ensuing days and weeks, I embarked on a new practice. I prayed not just for myself, but for those I had judged. I prayed for their happiness, peace, and success, seeking to see the world through a lens of compassion rather than envy. Gradually, I began to change. Whenever judgment or envy crept in, I paused and reflected, questioning the roots of these thoughts and what it mean needed healing. I learned a valuable lesson. Judgment and envy stem not from others' lives, but from one's own lack of acceptance. It wasn't a swift or easy transformation. There were days when bitterness reigned, when the old Jonah resurfaced. But I persisted in the fight, knowing regression was not an option. One day, I returned to the woods, the origin of my awakening. As I walked the familiar path, my mind was clear. I felt the breeze through the trees, the scent of the damp earth beneath my feet, and a newfound peace settled within me. I wasn't preoccupied with others' doings or comparing my life. I was simply living, and that sufficed. My journey towards self-discovery and redemption is ongoing, perhaps never-ending. But I've learned that the real adversary is not external, but internal, the silent voice that incites judgment, envy, and desire for what we don't have. Until we silence that voice, we remain our own prisoners. Now, each day I strive to live humbly. Every prayer I utter is a heartfelt plea to see others not as rivals, but as fellow travelers, each with their own battles. And from that harrowing journey to hell, the most profound lesson is that righteousness or innocence isn't measured by actions alone, but by the heart. Only a heart filled with love and compassion can be truly free. Thank you for listening to my story. I humbly ask you to help us spread these Christian reflections far and wide. Please comment and share this story with your loved ones. Your support will not only comfort me greatly, but may also inspire others to introspect and find their path to serenity. I'm deeply grateful for your help and generosity. Together, we can build a community rooted in love, compassion, and mutual understanding. God bless you.